Do you know any other languages besides English?
Yes.
How many?
One.
And what is it?
Spanish.
Okay. So, who taught you Spanish?
My godmother.
And at what age?
Since I was born.
Do you think that Spanish has benefited you?
Yes.
How?
It allows me to communicate with different people. I could visit my grandparents in Puerto Rico and Dominican Republic and be able to communicate with them and their family.
Okay. What is the greatest advantage out of all of those?
Being able to walk down the street speaking Spanish and not knowing that these white people don't know what I'm saying.
What do you think is the best age to learn a language?
I would say there is no best age to learn a language, but it is beneficial to learn it younger since your mind tends to process things better.
Are there ever times that you regret learning the language?
No.
Do you feel like there's people out there that do?
There might.
Okay. What is your native language? Is it English or Spanish?
My native language would be both English and Spanish since I wound up learning them at the same time.
Me too. Do you feel like you had anxiety learning the new language or it made you anxious to speak it early on?
No.
Does this language affect where you live community-wise?
No. I feel like it would affect where I live community-wise if I did not know Spanish.
Okay, and where do you live?
The Bronx.
Hey!
I'm just regular schmegular boy from the Bronx.
This is my friend Christina.
Hi.
And do I have your permission to use the video?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know any other language besides English?
Yes.
And what's the language?
Spanish.
Who taught you Spanish and at what age?
I learned Spanish from my grandparents who moved over here from Puerto Rico. They never really learned English, so I learned Spanish from them.
Did you learn this language in school as well?
No, I didn't.
And how do you feel this Spanish benefits you? And what's its greatest advantage?
It benefits me because I can speak to my family members that don't speak English. Also, it helped me get like 3 different positions in my life just because I speak Spanish. It's my application above other people. And I got hired, so I think it benefits me.
And what do you feel is the best age to learn a new language?
As a baby, you don't have to try so hard or study so hard. It comes natural.
Mm-hmm. Would you pass it on to your kids?
Yes, I would.
Why?
So they can have advantages in life. Knowing 2 languages is very beneficial. It helps them in their work-wise. It helps them speak to people that don't know English. I think it's a very good advantage to know 2 languages.
Do you know anyone, or do you think there's people that regret learning a new language?
I think there's people that regret knowing 2 languages once in a while. For example, in my old workplace, I had coworkers that would complain because all the Spanish phone calls and patients were passed on to us. So the workload was heavier for us. Mm-hmm. So they would complain about, I wish I didn't know Spanish so I wouldn't have to do so much work.
Mm-hmm. And you don't regret it, right?
No, I don't.
Does knowing Spanish affect where you live community-wise?
No, it doesn't. I speak English fluently, write it, read it, speak it. I can live in any part and be okay.
Mm-hmm. And where do you live now?
I live in Ridgewood, Queens.
When you learned English after you already knew Spanish, do you feel like it gave you anxiety?
No, I was a baby. Can't remember.
Which one do you consider your native language?
English.
Why?
Because that's the language I focused the most on in school, growing up, and as an adult. And I live in the United States. Everybody speaks English.
Okay. This is my friend Olivia, and do I have your permission to use the video?
Yes.
Okay. Do you speak any other language besides English?
Yes, I speak Polish.
And who taught you Polish?
I was taught by both of my parents and my grandmother at home. And basically, I started learning it ever since I was able to speak. I learned majority of it at home when I was young.
And did you learn any of it in school?
Yeah, I was forced to go to school, Polish school, by my parents from first grade all the way up until eighth grade to learn how to read and write in Polish and also to learn about the history and geography of Poland.
And do you think that this benefits you, or what's the greatest advantage that you have from it?
This benefits me a lot because I am able to communicate with my family that's back in Poland that doesn't really know English, and I'm able to communicate to the people in my community. Majority of Ridgewood is Eastern European, and a good percentage of that is Polish, so I'm able to speak to them and communicate with them.
And what's the greatest advantage out of all those?
The greatest advantage I'd probably have to say is when I go back to my family in Poland, I'm able to have a conversation with them and like tell them about myself and my life. So it's really important to me that I'm able to talk to them.
And what do you feel is the best age to learn a language?
Definitely the best age would be when you're very young, probably like a kid who's still in elementary school, because kids at that age grasp things very quickly and are able to learn new vocabulary very fast, as opposed to when you're older and your mind isn't as quick in learning a language.
Will you pass it on to your kids?
I will most likely pass it on to my kids. I will definitely make them go to Polish school like my parents made me. It's very important for me that they also know how to talk to my family that's back in Poland and family that just doesn't know how to speak English.
Do you feel like there are times that you regret learning the language?
No, not at all. Everything's very positive.
Do you think that anyone out there does?
I personally don't know anyone that does, but if they do, then they should really reconsider.
What do you consider your native language?
My native language is definitely Polish, since I learned it for it first, and that's the language from my culture and family and that I was brought up in, so it's definitely Polish.
Did learning the new language give you anxiety?
Well, when I was in kindergarten, I was sent to school by my parents, and I basically didn't know a word in English. And for a good few months, I came home crying every day, saying to my parents, I don't know what these kids are saying to me. I don't understand them at all. But it got better as time went by and I went to school more. But it was definitely difficult at first.
And does knowing Polish affect where you live community-wise?
It definitely does, since, as I mentioned, Ridgewood is a very big Eastern European community, and a lot of Polish people do live here. And I'm able to communicate with them at work and just around my neighborhood. When I see my neighbors, I'm able to talk to them.
So, do you plan to live in an Eastern European community in the future?
I'm not sure what the future holds in that aspect, but I would definitely want it to be an Eastern European community just so I could keep upholding my culture as I do live in America.
The language and at what age?
I was.
Oh my god! No, I'm gonna cut these up. And what age did you learn? Fuck.
Lord.
So I'm in Spanish.
Relax.
What's your name?
Charles.
No. Do you know any other to use the video?
Damn Skippy.
Okay.
Yeah, that's 3 minutes that she needs.
Oh, 3 minutes.
And we did it already. Like